Determine which party ultimately controls the U.S. House of Representatives. Here to break down, Republican strategist and pollster Justin Wallin joining us from our nation's capital. Justin, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Let's talk a little bit about California, and in particular the 39th district. Why do you want to focus on that?
Well, the 39th lands in traditionally red Orange County, California. Now, Orange County lost Trump lost Orange County in the 2016, but it is a very conservative kind of district. What's going on in the 39th is an open seat, and what's interesting about the 39th is kind of fascinating because of what's not going on in two other seats that are nearby. So the Republican National Congressional Committee and the Republican Leadership Fund have dumped money into ad buying into this seat on behalf of the Republican Young Kim, but have not spent money in Rohrabacher and Mimi Walters' seats. Traditional punditry would suggest that they believe that these seats are lost and Kim's seat is the only one attainable. I suspect that it's just more of a matter of they think that those two seats may well win without additional funding, and they're putting all their funding into the really, really expensive LA media market, into the Kim seat to push her over the edge.
That makes sense. Meanwhile, a lot of eyes are on Texas and Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke, who are running for the U.S. Senate. But then you look at Texas's 23rd district, and you've got a familiar name there, Will Hurd versus Gina Ortiz-Jones.
Right. And this is one of those, if there's a swing district in the world, that district is it. It goes back and forth between Republican and Democrats. In this case, it's got a Republican incumbent, Will Hurd, as you mentioned. I believe that Will Hurd is well suited to the district. Right now, the polling shows him with a fairly comfortable lead. I believe this one ends up staying Republican.
Okay. Let's go down to Florida. You got, of course, a lot of people are talking about the Senate seat with the current governor there, Rick Scott, versus Bill Nelson. But in the 26th district, Carlos Curbelo versus Debbie McCarcel Powell. It was misspelled in the teleprompter. What do you see there?
Yeah, so this one is fascinating because of what the polling says. And again, this is public polling, so you take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But what we showed a couple of months ago was the Republican incumbent was establishing a significant lead, a reasonable lead, and that prompted the Cook Political Report to shift rating the seat as a toss-up seat into a lean Republican. However, over the past 30 days, what we've seen is that polling has tightened up, so it's a dead heat. The question here is, what happened in the last 30 days? The biggest event that happened is Kavanaugh. Is this one of those interesting districts where, by the way, Kavanaugh largely helped Republican candidates? Is this one of those districts where perhaps Kavanaugh hurt that candidate? We'll have to see.
And Justin, you and I were talking in the commercial before we got started, and you said that Kavanaugh has really galvanized Republicans. And at this point, while both parties are energized, it seems like Republican enthusiasm right now is spiking. Why is that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a funny thing earlier prior to Kavanaugh where Republican enthusiasm to get to the polls and vote was not as high as that of Democrats. We saw that because more Democrats showed up in the primaries in general than Republicans. I think the Democratic trajectory hit a peak, and Republican trajectory is spiking. I think we're largely see a positive effect for Republicans by virtue of Kavanaugh.
All right, and now it's just a race to the first Tuesday in November. Justin Wallin, we thank you very much for joining us from our nation's capital.
Thank you.